Two elite snipers receive identical missions: travel to a secret location and guard a deep gorge's west and east sides for 1 year without contact with the outside world or their counterparts on the opposite sides. Levi Kane, a former U.S. Marine scout/sniper, and current private contractor, agrees to guard the West Tower. Dresa, a Lithuanian covert operative frequently employed by the Kremlin, guards the east side. Levi suffers from nightmares stemming from the guilt he has from killing enemies, while Dresa's father, Erikas, dying from cancer, plans to commit suicide on Valentine's Day to reunite with his late wife. As he settles into his year-long mission, he is briefed by his predecessor, Jasper Drake, who shares critical information about the site. He tells Levi that he is strictly forbidden from contacting the East Tower. He also tells Levi that there is a dangerous creature in the gorge. Nicknamed the Hollow Men, since World War II, the East and the West have worked together in order to keep the creatures contained. The entire gorge is cloaked, meaning it's undetectable by radar, cell, and other services. There are bombs placed around the perimeter for if and when creatures try to escape. The snipers are there to shoot anything that slips through the cracks. After completing his briefing, J.D. is extracted by a helicopter. However, shortly after boarding, he is unexpectedly executed by a soldier on the helicopter, acting under orders from Bartholomew, the head of Dark Lake Corporation. This abrupt termination underscores the organization's ruthless measures to maintain the secrecy surrounding the gorge and its operations. It's not looking good for Levi and Dresa. For a few months, both Levi and Dresa do their jobs without contact and without incident. They occasionally spy on each other with binoculars. On her birthday, Dresa introduces herself by writing on a notepad and firing a gun in the air to get Levi's attention. They use creative methods like tying notes to weighted objects and shooting them across the gorge. To pass the time, they challenge each other by shooting objects in the distance, turning them into a game. On Dresa's birthday, they also have their first encounter with the Hollow Men, which are grotesque, human-like creatures that try to crawl out of the gorge. At one point, a Hollow Man, a mutated monster, begins climbing the sheer wall of the gorge. This marks the first known attempt of these creatures to escape. Levi and Dresa react quickly. Levi spots the movement using night vision and alerts Dresa. They both take precise sniper shots at the creature's limbs to slow its climb. Despite their efforts, the creature proves to be highly resilient, regenerating quickly. Levi is forced to trigger the automated defense systems, which unleash machine gun fire and missiles, finally neutralizing the Hollow Man. This incident reveals the increasing intelligence and adaptability of the creatures, making Levi and Dresa question what else is hidden in the gorge. It also pushes them further into investigating the truth behind the Dark Lake Corporation's experiments. More months pass, and they grow to know and care for each other. On Valentine's Day, Dresa mourns the death of her father before she left. He told her he would be taking his own life on Valentine's Day, rather than succumb to his deadly disease. Seeing Dresa is distraught, Levi uses a gun to fire a cable across the gorge. Dresa secures the cable to a tree, and Levi uses it to zip line over to the East Tower. He even brings her flowers. They finally have a proper date. Levi reveals his longest shot ever was 3,241 meters. Dresa asks if he was the one who made the world record longest shot of 3,800 meters in Yemen, but he denies it. Levi also reveals he is a poet and that he wrote a poem about Dresa, but he refuses to recite it. They spend the night together. The next day, Levi gets on the zip line to return to the West Tower. Before he gets across, some of the Hollow Men trigger the perimeter bombs. The cable breaks and Levi falls into the gorge. Dresa grabs supplies and dives after Levi into the gorge. She finds him, alive, in a sort of upside-down-esque world filled with mutated monsters. Together, they assess their surroundings and realize they are in an environment unlike anything they expected. The gorge is teeming with grotesquely mutated plants and animals, evidence of biological contamination. They encounter terrifying creatures, known as the Hollow Men. The creatures exhibit intelligence, hinting at rapid evolution. While fighting them, they realize that some of these monsters, which look like a cross between a human and a tree, are wearing World War II uniforms. They realize these are soldiers who were stationed here, or, at least, they used to be. As Levi and Dresa explore deeper, they stumble upon a shocking revelation. Hidden beneath the gorge is an old World War II-era research lab, originally run by both Eastern and Western governments. The facility was abandoned after an earthquake caused a massive leak of a top-secret mutagenic bioweapon. The contaminant alters DNA, merging different species and creating the Hollow Men. Human DNA has merged with plants, animals, and even insects. The scientist explains, that's why soldiers turned into mutated trees. It's giving annihilation. The scientist says that if you're only exposed for a few hours, you might be okay. Mutations begin within 5 days of exposure. In other words, Levi and Dresa need to get out of here. The site, long thought to be sealed off, is now being controlled by Darklake, a secretive private military corporation, rather than containing the threat. Darklake extracts samples for super soldier experiments. Levi and Dresa discover classified documents proving Darklake intends to weaponize the mutations. In the lab, Levi uncovers an old failsafe system, the Stray Dog Protocol, a nuclear detonation designed to wipe out all life in the gorge if containment fails. If activated, it will destroy everything within a 2 km radius. However, Darklake has overridden the system to keep the site operational, ensuring their experiments continue unchecked. After a relentless chase by Hollow Men, Levi and Dresa locate an old jeep from the research facility. The vehicle still works, but the terrain is treacherous, and their only chance is to tow themselves up the gorge wall using the jeep's winch cable. They attach the winch to a rock outcrop and begin their ascent. As the jeep slowly pulls them up, the Hollow Men pursue them aggressively, leaping at them from the cliff walls. Levi and Dresa fight off the creatures in midair while clinging to the cable. After an intense battle, they reach the top and destroy the winch system, sending the remaining creatures plummeting back into the abyss. Once out of the gorge, they realize they are both potentially exposed to the mutagen and must act quickly. They must quarantine for 5 days, to see if they are contaminated. Also, they think they should probably do that whole self-destruct thing on the gorge, for the safety of the world. Levi needs to get back to the West Tower because he's due for his check-in with the boss. They agree to both quarantine for 5 days, and, if they are safe, they will meet up in 1 week. Before he zips across on a new cable, Levi tells Dresa that he loves her. Levi does his radio check-in, but the boss knows something is up. The boss orders Levi to kill Dresa. He says he will, but just to be safe, the boss flies some guys into the gorge to kill Levi, too. Meanwhile, Levi and Dresa set up bombs on the cloakers that surround the gorge to keep it off the grid. When the helicopter arrives, Levi knows they are there to kill them. Bartholomew and her soldiers arrive with armed drones to stop Levi and Dresa. A deadly chase ensues as the couple fights back. Using their expert marksmanship, realizing the world will never be safe as long as the site exists, they plan to expose Darklake's crimes and trigger the nuclear detonation. They both run until they are 9 km away from the gorge and then take their shots to activate the bombs and destroy the cloakers. With the gorge back on the grid, the self-destruct protocol is initiated. This triggers the Stray Dog Protocol, launching a nuclear self-destruct sequence. So now Levi and Dresa must run the remaining 400 meters to get outside the 2 km radius and get to safety. The boss and her henchmen aren't able to get away in time, and die in the explosion dropped by an atom bomb. Dresa is able to run to safety, but Levi has an injured leg and moves slower. He throws himself into a nearby river as the explosion rips through the forest. It's not clear if he makes it or not. Dresa quarantines for 5 days in the cave, and doesn't show signs of turning into a mutated plant monster. She takes out an envelope that Levi must have given to her off-screen. Instructions on the front say to open the letter at sunset if he doesn't make it to the spot where they agreed to meet in 1 week. But she still has hope that they will meet up, so she doesn't open the letter yet. When Levi doesn't show up at the meeting spot by sunset, Dresa opens the letter. It's the love poem that Levi wrote about Dresa, which he wouldn't share with her earlier. Dresa sheds a tear for her lost love, and leaves. In a surprise moment, Levi appears at her workplace. Having miraculously escaped, Levi apologizes for being late and explains he was injured, but he made it. Dresa teases Levi for beating her record shot. With his 3,900-meter shot, Levi and Dresa's journey through the gorge reveals a deadly conspiracy, a terrifying biological disaster, and the power of human resilience. Despite impossible odds, they expose the truth and destroy the gorge, preventing a global catastrophe while finding love in the process.